learning about kinematic equations. There are 4 equations we'll use in level 2 physics when we get questions about constant acceleration, which means that the acceleration is staying the same. Here are the 4 equations that we use. We can see that there are 5 letters in the equations. These are called variables and they represent different measurements. We have A, which stands for acceleration, T, which stands for time, D, which stands for distance, VI, which stands for initial velocity or starting speed, and VF, which stands for final velocity or ending speed. We also need to take into consideration the direction that the objects are moving. If all the objects are moving right but one is left, then the one that's moving in the opposite direction to the others will be negative. If the objects are moving straight up and down, the thing that's causing the objects to accelerate towards the ground is gravity. So we use the gravity value, 9.8 meters per second squared, as the acceleration value. When we use these equations, there will be one variable that we're trying to find, 3 variables that we'll get from the question, and 1 variable we don't use. Writing these variables out will help us to figure out which equation we need to use. This is an example of a kinematic equations question. If a car accelerates at a rate of 3 meters per second squared from standstill, at what distance will it be after 10 seconds? We can start by writing down the variables we have from the question. So, the initial velocity, because it said standstill, is 0 meters per second. The final velocity isn't mentioned. The acceleration is 3 meters per second squared. The time is 10 seconds. And the distance is the variable we're trying to find. So we can use this information to figure out which equation we need. Because we need the equation that doesn't have the final velocity, we'll be using this equation. We can sub the variables that we've identified into this equation. Once we work that out, we get 150 meters, and that's your answer.